Hello there, this is L24 World News and these are today's headlines. 2 Palestinians, including a senior militant commander, were killed Tuesday as Zionist forces raided a house in the occupied West Bank city of Nablus. Kenyans are casting their ballots for a new leader in a fiercely contested race that is too close to call. Former US President Donald Trump claimed FBI agents raided his Mar-a-Lago estate on Monday and broke into his safe, adding that his estate is currently under siege, raided, and occupied. Taiwan's military has held a live-fire artillery drill simulating a defense of the island against an attack after days of massive Chinese war games. Good afternoon, I'm your host Abdurrahim Kashur, and those were today's top stories. First in our topic on news, the Zionist occupation forces stormed the old city of Nablus and killed 3 leaders of the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigades. 2 of the leaders were targeted during a special operation launched by the Zionist occupation forces after besieging a residential house in the eastern neighborhood of the old city Nablus. For its part, the Palestinian Ministry of Health said that the death toll in the West Bank and Gaza Strip has risen to 129 since the beginning of this year. The UN Security Council held an urgent meeting to discuss the situation in Gaza with several members, raising concerns despite the truce between Islamic Jihad and the Zionist entity, following 3 days of deadly conflict.
Are you ready to say enough is enough? As the highest authority responsible for the maintenance of international peace and security, how many more years does it get to impose its inhumane blockade on 2 million people, half of them children, until someone says enough is enough? How many more children do we have to bury until someone says enough is enough?
Approximately 1,100 rockets and mortars were fired by Palestinian armed groups, mainly PID's Al-Quds brigades. Some 20% of these reportedly fell short within Gaza Strip, causing damage and in at least 3 cases, potentially large number of civilian casualties.
Hours after the ceasefire between Palestinian resistance group and the Zionist forces have revealed the amount of destruction left by the assault on Gaza, hundreds of families in the region have found themselves with no shelters as their homes were reduced to rubble. Osama Ayadi.
Hours after the Egypt brokered ceasefire between the Zionist forces and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad resistance group, families in the Gaza Strip are returning to their homes, which have been reduced to rubble.
It took 10 minutes until they broke down the door. I felt scared and was hoping that someone will come to rescue me.
Residents scrutinized through the rubble at the camp, a war in the valleys that is home to Palestinians whose families fled or were expelled from towns and villages in 1948 during the War of Zionist entities' creation. Some carried away a small bike and some books, another dragged pieces of furniture away, others looked for family documents and photo albums.
I told the rescue team, you can destroy my home to rescue the people in the next building. They are worthier than my home. The bulldozer destroyed my home, and they opened the way to the building next to me.
The death toll after the Zionist assault has reached at least 47, in addition to over 300 wounded. The human and material cost in the region was very heavy. Despite the ceasefire, Palestinians sounded wary, as most of them have become with no shelter. The Secretary General of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad resistance group warned that if the Zionist enemy does not abide by what was agreed upon, which includes the sole condition of releasing prisoners Khalil al-Awawda and Bassem al-Sa'di, the movement will resume the fighting.
أن تلتزم
إسرائيل بإطلاق الأخوين.
Israel committed to releasing our prisoners, the brothers Khalil Awauda and Sheikh Bassam. This is the essence of the deal. Secondly, in general, we assured in this deal about the unity of the Palestinian people and the unity of the Palestinian squares. This is simply our position.
الموقف ببساطة متناهية.
As a further development in the region, Zionist forces have announced that their troops have arrested 4 armed Palestinians and seized their ammunition.
And concerning this new attack in the old city of Nablus, previously we have talked to Hania Al-Jamal, a Palestinian activist, and she has this to say.
Well, allow me to start by saying that more than once it does not come as a coincidence that most of the escalations over Gaza and in other various areas in Palestine conveniently come at the time of elections as a walking, their electoral campaign of such that carries the message or provides the goal of the Zionist movement, that is to eradicate as much Palestinians as possible and to take over as much land as it can. Now, with that being said, having these carrying on the destruction in various areas and is basically a message to the Palestinian people that they are not welcomed in their own town.
To a different matter now, former President Donald Trump said on Monday that FBI agents had searched his Mar-a-Lago club and residence in Palm Beach in Florida after he was alleged of keeping confidential documents taken from the White House. Islam Seed tackled this investigational story in this report.
The FBI agents raided Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence on Monday in Florida. The feds had executed a search warrant to enter the location after the U.S. Justice Department called for another investigation against the former U.S. president, who is accused of keeping official presidential records brought from the White House to Palm Beach. According to reports, Donald Trump was at Trump's Tower in New York when the search took place in his house. Trump claimed to be a victim of political persecution. However, he previously confirmed that he had agreed to return certain records to the archives and called it an ordinary and routine process.
My beautiful home, Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida, is currently under siege, raided, and occupied by a large group of FBI agents.
In recent months, the National Archives reported to the Congress that it had recovered around 15 boxes of White House materials from Trump's Florida home, some of which contained classified documents.
After working and cooperating with the relevant government agencies, this unannounced raid on my home was not necessary or appropriate.
After the raid, a group of Trump supporters gathered outside the former president's Mar-a-Lago residence to demonstrate against the act, with some calling it a just made-up thing by Biden administration and the Democrats.
In my own opinion, I think it's another unjust, made-up thing like the impeachment hoaxes. And same with the January 6th. Because Trump didn't do anything wrong with January 6th because he ordered the National Guard and Nancy Pelosi denied it.
The Biden administration, the Democrats are weaponizing the FBI, and it has to stop. The FBI is not here to weaponize against another president. It never has happened before. They should go after things that are clearly a violation, meaning the Hunter laptop, which they don't even have to investigate because the laptop is right there, all the evidence is there.
Monday's alleged raid is added to a series of Trump's current legal problems, including probe against him over taking part in January 6, 2021 assault on the Capitol, as well as allegations of illegal dealings connected to 2020 presidential election.
Long lines of voters were seen at different polling stations in Nairobi as Kenya's general polls began, with Odinga and Ruto locked in close contest for presidency. The voting process will continue until 5 p.m. local time across 46,229 polling stations. Voters are casting ballots for presidents, governors, of members of parliaments, and members of county assemblies.
I've done my democratic right, I've voted, and it has been a good morning, chilling, The process was okay, and I'm very grateful that I've voted, done my duty, I've selected my candidate. Let me wait for the results.
Still in Africa, at least 17 soldiers and 4 civilians were killed Sunday in an attack in a strategic border zone between Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger. Some 22 troops were injured while 9 other soldiers are missing. The army said late Monday, adding that the toll could still rise. The army had said its troops had been repelling an attack by the Daesh and the Greater Sahara Group, affiliated with the Daesh terrorist organization. The Algerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and National Community Abroad said in a statement that Algeria followed with great satisfaction the signing of the peace agreement by the Chadian authorities and the armed groups and movements, which should pave the way for an inclusive national dialogue in N'Djamena. Statement praising the contribution of State of Qatar said that on this happy occasion, Algeria extends its warmest congratulations to the government and all Chadian parties for their remarkable commitment to this process. Talks to revive Tehran's nuclear deal wrapped up after 4 days of indirect talks between US and Iranian officials. European Union said it put forward a final text to revive the 2015 Iranian nuclear deal, and according to the Russian ambassador Mikhail Ulyanyov, the parties will need to decide if the draft is acceptable, and in case of no objection, the nuclear deal will be restored. Taiwan began routine military exercises in southern country of Pingtung. The latest exercises come only a day after China announced fresh military drills in the sea and airspace around Taiwan. Nabil Khazin.
Around Taiwan, there is no de-escalation of tensions. China has not said its last word yet, and now Taipei shows off its strength and comes out with live-fire artillery drills. Taiwan accuses Beijing of preparing an invasion after China wrapped up its biggest military maneuvers ever around the island.
China has used the drills in its military playbook to prepare for the invasion of Taiwan. It is conducting large-scale military exercises and missile launches, as well as cyber attacks, disinformation campaign, and economic coercion in an attempt to weaken public morale in Taiwan.
Up to the moment, there have been no outright confrontations, but the tensions have rarely been that high. China says its angry reaction following the visit of Nancy Pelosi to the island is aimed at delivering a warning as well as a punishment to those seeking secession in Taiwan.
China's measures are firm, strong and measured, and its military exercises are open, transparent and professional. They're consistent with domestic and international laws, as well as international practices.
Joe Biden, the President of the United States, which is a key player in these last events, said he is not worried about China's military exercises.
I'm not worried, but I'm concerned that they're moving as much as they are. But I don't think they're going to do anything more.
Biden's relative calm reflects the deliberate American strategy of not responding to China in an equal way. However, Beijing sees the situation as being very serious and as a violation of its own integrity.
The United Nations called on Russia and the US to settle all issues related to the Arms Control Treaty Strategic Offensive START 3. Especially the issues related to the inspections. This last call comes since it is the only remaining bilateral agreement in the field of nuclear arms control between the United States and Russia that considers the START 3 treaty an important component of international peace and security, as well as the international system. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said on Monday in Japan that the risk of nuclear confrontation had returned after decades, calling all the nuclear states to commit to no first use of this weapon.
Any attack to a nuclear plant is a suicidal thing, and I hope that those attacks will end And at the same time, I hope that the IAEA will be able to have access to the plant and to exercise its mandate competencies. Any attack to a nuclear plant is a suicidal thing, and I hope that those attacks will end. And at the same time, I hope that the IAEA will be able to have access to the plant and to exercise its mandate competencies.
Russia informed the United States on Monday that it is temporarily suspending U.S. inspections of its nuclear weapons sites under the 2010 Treaty on Measures for the Further Reduction and Limitation of Strategic Offensive Arms. Moscow also accused Washington of seeking to create unilateral advantages and deprive Russia of the right to carry out inspections on American soil. The 2,000-year-old G.A. Reuters aluminum company is preparing for the temporary shutdown to survive Germany's gas crisis. Reuters is hoping that by moving to 3 weeks of 24-hour shifts followed by 1 week shutdown, he can maintain output while also cutting his gas bill, which has doubled since last year and is expected to triple or even quadruple in 2023.
You have to know that starting up a foundry like this, heating up the furnace, is very energy intensive. But when it's running, we can keep energy at good level here. Shutting it down in the evening, shutting it down overnight, and heating it up in the morning is crazily expensive. That's why we now do it in such a way that we either run it around the hour in the 3 shifts or shut it down completely.
Torrential rain cut power and submerged roads in and around the South Korean capital of Seoul on Monday night, leaving at least 8 people dead and many others stranded. According to the Korean Meteorological Administration, Monday rainfall is seen as the worst in decades.
I couldn't believe that I was trapped in a building with 40 other people in the middle of Gangnam district due to floods. It reminds me of Titanic. I was so scared. My 2 little sons were waiting at home, so I wanted to go back home, which was only 10 minutes away. But I couldn't possibly move, and that situation was unbelievable. Today, I finally begun to feel the impact of climate change. All these kinds of situations were caused by it.
The oil storage facility fire in Cuba continues for the 3rd day in a row after another oil tank caught fire. The incident took place in the Cuban city of Matanzas on Friday night, leaving at least 1 person dead and 121 others injured. Authorities have evacuated around 2,000 people from the region, and the country has called for international cooperation. According to a health official in New York State, there may be hundreds or even thousands of undiagnosed polio cases present. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has deployed a federal team to New York to investigate the case of polio detected in Rockland County. On July 21st, the New York State Health Department announced a patient in this state had contracted a case of vaccine-derived polio, the first case in the United States in nearly a decade. Russia launched an Iranian satellite into orbit on Tuesday from southern Kazakhstan as Moscow and Tehran seek to build closer ties in the face of Western sanctions. Western leaders feared that Moscow will use the satellite to boost its intelligence capabilities in Ukraine, but Tehran rejects the claims and says it has full control over it. Japan marks the 77th anniversary of the atomic bombing that killed instantly more than 75,000 people. The commemoration took place in Nagasaki, where people, including Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida and other officials, paid respect to the massacre's victims.
As a Prime Minister, I humbly offer up my sincere condolences to the spirits of those people who were sacrificed and offer my heartfelt sympathy to those who continue to suffer the after effects.
British Australian pop icon Olivia NewtonJohn, who dominated the mainstream culture of the time, passed away on Monday, aged 73. Miriam Zian.
British-born Australian singer and actress Olivia NewtonJohn died on Monday, as her husband confirmed on her Facebook page. Tributes to Newton-John began appearing shortly after her family's statement, and floral tributes poured over her Hollywood Walk of Fame star that she obtained in 1981, as her fans remembered her iconic legacy.
It's just, it hits hard, you know, when your idols die, it's just like even a piece of your family too, because you grew up with them.
Travolta, who co-starred with Olivia in the hit movie musical Grease, posted a heartful message on social media.
My dearest Olivia, you made all of our lives so much better. Your impact was incredible. I love you so much. We will see you down the road, and we will be together again. Yours from the first moment I saw you, and forever. Your Danny, your John.
The pop star was one of the most recognizable celebrities in the world. She stole hearts in the 1978 blockbuster Grease and dominated the charts with songs like the 1981 hit Physical, the #1 single of that decade. She's credited with selling more than 100 million records over the course of a 5-decade career. Before a planned tour in 1992, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, which she recovered from but still returned. After her first recovery, Olivia NewtonJohn became an advocate for health issues and breast cancer. She also built the Olivia NewtonJohn Cancer and Wellness Centre in Australia's Melbourne. The pop star, who has battled cancer for more than 30 years, passed away at the age of 73, but a specific cause of her death was not given.
Natalia Popova has found a new purpose in life, rescuing wild animals and pets from devastation wrought by the war in Ukraine. More in this report.
Rescuers at the Ukrainian animal shelter have devoted their time to evacuating animals since Russia started its military operation.
Now when I pick up animals, most of the lions have been abandoned. The owners left because of bombardment. Everything is being demolished, and the animals were abandoned. We are approached by the military, who find them and ask to take them away, because they feel pity. The military help us drive into these hotspots, we pick them up. All in all, they have no story. We don't even know whose animal this is.
In cooperation with the Animal Protection Organization, rescuers of wild animals have already saved more than 300 animals from war. 200 were taken abroad and 100 found homes in western region of Ukraine, which are considered to be safer.
During the war, we have already transported more than 300 animals. More than 200 of them have already been evacuated to Europe.
Rescued from hotspots where active hostilities occur, most of animals are now waiting to be evacuated to Poland. Their transportation mission, however, can be dangerous for Natalia Popova in the absence of experts. Most of the animals she rescues are from private homes, abandoned by their owners. Popova rehabilitates animals in her Kiev shelter before they're rehomed.
Of course it's scary. Of course it's dangerous. Of course I had to learn a lot of professions because not a single veterinarian would go to the front line. Therefore I had to learn how to do anesthesia myself. Because animals such as lions, tigers, bears, when they are under stress, it is impossible to take them away.
The Puznan Zoo in Poland helps her evacuate the animals and find suitable homes for them. Some of the evacuated animals have already found new homes in Spain, France and South Africa.
And with this story, let's go on to our main headlines. 2 Palestinians, including a senior militant commander, were killed Tuesday as Zionist forces raided a house in the occupied West Bank city of Nablus. Kenyans are casting their ballots for a new leader in a fiercely contested race that is too close to call. Former US President Donald Trump claimed FBI agents raided his Mar-a-Lago estate on Monday and broke into his safe, adding that his estate is currently under siege, raided and occupied. Taiwan's military has held a live-fire artillery drill simulating a defense of the island against an attack after days of massive Chinese war games. For more updates, follow us on our social media platform, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and even YouTube. Thank you for now. Bye-bye.